Hello, welcome to episode 185 of the Epic Film Challenge 2, 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. 1925's Seven Chances. And I don't know what it is with me lately with deleting videos, but we've already talked about this weeks ago, and I lost the video. So we're here to try and recreate some of that magic in that amazing review we did for Buster Keaton's Seven Chances. And this is the start of a kind of mini run of comedy reviews, looking at some of the classic icons of the early era of comedy in cinema. Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, Laurel and Hardy, the Marx Brothers, etc. So Seven Chances, Buster Keaton. I'd seen it before, Connie hadn't. And it's about a guy, played by Buster Keaton, who finds out that he is going to inherit a lot of money if he marries on his 27th birthday before a certain time, like 6 PM or something. And he finds this news out on the day. So he has a few hours to do this, and the company he works for, the business, it's in dire straits, and so his business partner's like, you've got to marry someone, because this money will save us. Now, Buster's in love with this girl. He's been sweet on her for, you know, pretty much his whole life, it makes it seem. And so he goes over to her naturally, and he's like, you know, he kind of sidles up to her, and he's like, I've got something to ask you. And he basically, like typical Buster Keaton fashion, he kind of puts his foot in it and kind of makes it seem like he just wants to marry her because of the money, and she gets upset, and so he has to find someone else. And so the seven chances is like there's 7 women that he can go and find and propose to them, basically. Though that's just a fairly small scene, the 7 chances bit. After that, it just goes crazy towards the end. It's about an hour long, the film. What did you think?
Well, it's been so long since I've seen it.
Yeah, maybe I should like refresh your memory and talk about some of the more memorable scenes, then you can...
No, it's just, I can't remember what I felt after watching it now.
I remember you really liking it, and I remember thinking that it was a lot better than I originally thought. When I first watched it, I thought that was really good with some really good moments, but not a great one. But watching it again, I remember feeling like, wow, this is actually really good. And Buster didn't like this film very much. He thought that the scene at the end with all the rocks really saved the film. He wasn't a big fan of it when he made it at the time. And in fact, they didn't have the big rocks falling down the hill sequence when they first made the film. It was a small little gag of a couple of rocks falling down after he was running down the hill. They showed it to a test audience, they loved it, they laughed, so he thought, let's refilm the ending and make it much bigger. And you got hundreds of rocks falling down, and that's kind of one of the big moments of the climax of the film, which is a massive chase sequence. It gets put in the paper that if you turn up at this church at a certain time and get married to this guy, you'll get a lot of money. So they kind of build it up nicely where he goes to the church, he's been told to go there by his business partner, and a couple of women turn up, kind of like older women, you know, spinsters and stuff. And you're like, okay, so there's going to be quite a few people interested. And then suddenly the church fills up and there's hundreds of women, like, out the street, and then he realizes he's in big trouble because they're all after him. So he runs out the window, jumps out the window, I should say, and then he's literally...
Well, they're after him in a bad way because the minister comes in and he's like...
Good point, I forgot about that.
You've been fooled or something.
Yeah, you've been
women.
Yeah, you've been deceived. This is just a gag, you know.
Yeah,
so,
and that obviously they get angry with Buster because he's the one in the picture in the newspaper.
Yeah, exactly. And so you have this huge chase sequence where he's running down this big street, and there's hundreds of women just chasing him down. It's amazing. And it goes from the city streets and then off into the wilderness. He's jumping over these cliffs. He's doing all sorts of stuff. He gets into a boat, so he's going through all these different terrains. And
yeah, I remember saying that I thought that he, even though it went on for a long time, and I think I said I thought maybe it went on for too long, he still managed to make it really creative, and like there was a lot of variety.
Definitely.
In the different ways of being chased,
I
guess.
Yeah, it really kept it fresh and kind of the pace going. And also worth noting, if you're unaware, that Buster Keaton directed a lot of his stuff, and so he was very hands-on with his films and the way they were shot and the way gags were laid out and stuff. But also this film is just so funny. Like, I'd forgotten how hilarious it was. I laughed out loud so many times. The ways that the desperation that Buster has in trying to find a wife manifest themselves when he's driving down in his car and he looks across to a woman in another car and he's like, hey, do you want to marry me? You know, lots of great stuff like that. Some stunts that you would grow to expect from Buster Keaton, where he's swinging across a crane in this massive yard, just hairy stuff, you know. And then the build-up of the desperation of him trying to get married on time. He runs into a clock shop and all the hands are different and all that kind of stuff. Just great inventive gags, and I don't want to spoil too many of them, but this really is some of Buster's best gag work, I think. That chase sequence climaxes with him running down a hill and he knocks just a few little rocks and they slowly knock some bigger rocks, and then you got this huge boulder that's like 3 times the size of him and he's flipping down the hill and stuff and dodging them and everything. It's just an incredible sequence, and then he jumps onto a tree and the tree gets knocked down. It just keeps escalating and escalating. I like how there's different sections to it. The beginning of the film is really interesting because you see him with the girl that he likes, and it's like this episodic little montage where he's standing outside the house of the girl that he loves and he's kind of being all coy and stuff, and it's saying, you know, in autumn he didn't tell her he loved her, and then in winter he still didn't tell her he loved her, and you see this dog grow up over the course of the year, and it's a colour sequence as well. One of the, well, I guess they were doing early colour stuff in the 1900s, but a nice little Technicolor sequence. One thing I really love about the film, and it's such a small detail, but it really impressed me when I first saw it, was when, I don't know what happens, he's driving somewhere. He needs to get somewhere, so he jumps into his car, and he sat there in his car, and it's a shot of the car from the side, and everything just blends around him, and he gets out of the car, which is like this weird transition of him driving somewhere without actually driving, but the car is so perfectly matched that it's just really, and it's on a slant as well, so they would have had to like measured it down to the like atom, you know, and maybe it's not completely perfect, but it's really impressive, like not a match cut but a match fade, and I just thought that was a really cool technical thing in the film. I also like the beginning where he's looking for a bride, and he goes to this, I guess, social club, and so there's lots of women there, and he's asking them, and they keep rejecting him and laughing at him and stuff, and that keeps escalating too, to the point where everyone's rejected him, and there's lots of little funny gags in between that, and at the end they're all just outside the thing laughing at him. So I like the way it's built up and everything like that. So anything else you can think of?
I like how it gets stressful about the time, obviously.
Oh yeah,
because, the girl he likes calls his office or something.
Yeah,
and she overhears that he actually did love her.
Yeah, that was nicely done.
She was the only one that he wanted to be with, and so she decides to send her helper to give him a message saying that she's waiting at home for him or something.
And the helper keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and
yeah,
I like that. It built the tension up very well to the point where you have that running side plot of her realizing the truth and that she will marry him and trying to get the word to him, and he's running away from all the women, and so those two kind of things converge towards the end, and it's a nice ending too. But yeah, I was really impressed by it even more the second time. Is it a film you should see before you die?
I'm pretty sure I remember saying yes.
You said yes, and I think your quote was that it's a Buster Keaton film, so you should see it. I guess it was kind of like.
Well, I'm sure there are a lot of Buster Keaton movies that you shouldn't see, but I guess it was one of the better ones.
Yeah, I like the story a lot.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember.
Yeah, but you definitely said yes, I know that much, and for me it is a yes too.
It can't be a no.
Yeah, it's not one of his best. It's not. I mean, because he's made some masterpieces, but I think it's really, really good. It's great even, and so seeing it a second time definitely cemented my opinion that it's a great film, and probably one you should see before you die. So there we go. That's it. Thanks for watching, and in the next video we'll be talking about one of the other big silent comedians, Charlie Chaplin. So stay tuned for that, and we'll see you in the next one.